Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi kids, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. That's Andrew Rogers. I'm Randy Carricker, and we've got quite a show for you coming up. Defense stepping up in these NFL playoffs. Defenses are pretty good, aren't they?
Defense.
Yeah. They used to have a sign when Marty Schottenheimer was the coach at Kansas City that you could buy T-shirts and everything. It said, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships.
I need to see more picket fences, though, in the
Yeah.
stands. I want to see those signs again.
So defense is stepping up. We're going to talk to Battlehawks coach Ricky Proehl. He'll join us in the show. And in honor of Ricky, who caught the game-winning touchdown pass in the NFC Championship game for the Rams, our favorite championship game catches of all time. But let's get things started with our quick hits. And earlier in the week, the Billikens had their closest call so far in the A10 season, blowing a 17-point lead and hanging on for an 81-77 win at Duquesne. The Bills play at St. Bonaventure later in the week, and as usual, St. Louis placed 5 players in double figures in this game, but the Dukes got hot down the stretch. Billikens improved to 18-1 overall, 6-0 in the A10, and did not play their A game, especially down the stretch, and still came away with a victory. And I think that's the story of this team, is that if they play their A game generally in this conference, they're going to win.
And it's happened a few times this season already where the Billikens have blown a lead. Just look back at Stanford, their only loss. They had a bad second half, and Stanford found a way to close in the end. They had a bad second half against VCU. Instead, this time, SLU found a way to get that big shot from Amari McCoughtry and move forward. The same sort of deal kind of happened here. I know Stanford and VCU are probably better teams in this case, but they're finding ways to get wins even when they're allowing teams to creep back. I think the big story, though, is they go off and get a big lead, and that's what you want out of teams.
And they can shoot, right? If they're in trouble, somebody is always going to hit a shot for the Billikens. A lot of previous Billiken teams couldn't shoot, but this team regularly shoots 45 to 50% from the floor. They're shooting 43, 45% from three. They're hitting their free throws. When you can shoot, obviously, it makes a big difference in basketball.
And there's so many different guys stepping up on various occasions. It was Trey Green against Duquesne. It's been Kellen Thames over the last few games. Deion Brown gets his points. You know what's funny, though? We don't really talk about Robbie Avila anymore.
No.
He's not just the guy that you focus on, because SLU is built to have a 5-deep lineup that you can pick and choose any guy any given night to be your star.
Actually, it's 9 deep.
Yeah, now it's 9 deep,
Yeah.
right? I'm just kind of more focusing on, hey, the starting 5. We don't normally say Robbie Avila first anymore.
Right, yeah. More college this football. After winning their national championship, Indiana turning the page. They're forced to at quarterback because Fernando Mendoza is going to the NFL. With the other, Mendoza, transferring to Georgia Tech, and Josh Hoover transferring in, making Hoover the third different starting quarterback in 3 seasons for the Hoosiers. That kind of turnover would usually signal instability, but under Curt Cignetti, it's become a form of continuity. Curtis Rourke took Indiana to the playoff in Cignetti's first year. Mendoza followed that up by delivering a national championship, and now Hoover will step in. And the good teams in college football, Miami, the exact same situation, right? With Cam Ward, and then they move on to this year's quarterback, and then next year they're going to steal Mansa from Duke. It seems like the really good teams are kind of taking that tack of taking one quarterback at a time.
And it's funny that Indiana is now becoming the school to go to if you're a transfer quarterback. I don't think I would have said that 3 years ago. Oh yeah, Indiana, they'll be that next big spot to go that can produce the best quarterback in all of college football. This is a good quarterback signing, though, for Indiana. Hoover is a really smart guy. He dedicates himself to the film room. He'll be easy for Curt Cignetti to coach. Now, he's been asked to do a lot at TCU. Fernando Mendoza hasn't been asked a lot by his offensive coordinator, and he made a lot of smart decisions. Hoover's going to have to start becoming the guy that doesn't feel like he has to do it all himself anymore, because Indiana teams, as we know, they have 11 guys on the field that can do 11 different things in a good way.
All right, the Blues have lost their last 5 road games. The club isn't getting any better. They did outshoot and out-hit Winnipeg on their Tuesday night game, but they lost. And the two most important stats outside of wins and losses, the Blues are last in the league in goals per game and 5th from last in the league in goals against per game. Only the Vancouver Canucks have fewer points in the whole league than the Blues, who are 31st with 46 points. And you wonder what happened. This is a team that last year, after the Four Nations tournament had a 12-game winning streak. They were able to score goals. They were able to defend. Granted, they lost some veteran presence in Nick Leddy and in Ryan Suter. Granted, and this might be a bigger thing than we thought it was going to be, losing Zach Bolduc. This is a team that doesn't show an awful lot of heart and grit. Bolduc showed heart and grit, and right now, you aren't getting much to show for him. Logan Mailloux might turn out to be a good player, but right now, this trade is a disaster for the Blues because Bolduc, regardless of whether he was scoring or not, he drugged people into the fight.
And I'm done making excuses for this team. I'm done saying injuries are the reason why there's no continuity with this group. Guys come back and there still is no continuity. This Blues team, yes, has a lot of issues. They can't kill a penalty to save their life. Jordan Kyrou got his first goal since December 1st. That can't happen given that we are toward the end of January at this point. And just overall, St. Louis just probably was just a product of a really nice streak. When you go on a streak, you get a lot of momentum. It's easier to get wins in that case than it is losses. St. Louis is not finding any sort of streak this season.
And a guy like Colton Parayko, who has no goals this year, and last year had a career year, you wonder what happened with him. Obviously, there's talent there. Kyrou has scored 37 goals, 38 goals in the NHL. Parayko has scored a lot of goals in the NHL. This team last in the league in scoring, hard to figure. As we hit NFL Championship weekend, one trend jumps off the screen. All four remaining teams are built on elite defense. Seattle allowed the fewest points in the league during the regular season. Denver, third in fewest points allowed. New England, fourth, and the Rams, 10th. In a league that spends the regular season celebrating quarterbacks and fantasy football stats, the playoffs remind us that pressure, pass coverage, and stops still travel in January. And when you're one of the final four with a defense good enough to control games, the margin between successful season and missed opportunity gets razor thin, even for these four teams that at the beginning of the season I don't think anybody really expected would be in the final four. So does anything short of a Super Bowl appearance now feel like a letdown? I can't imagine that it would. When you sign a guy like Sam Darnold, I don't think that the first year you're expecting to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if the Broncos expected to go to the Super Bowl this year. I know New England didn't expect to go to the Super Bowl, and the Rams are the Rams. They might have cared in their building, but nobody in their town did.
That is 100% true. I will also agree with there's no way that it can be a letdown. One, if you're the Broncos in this case, who have to start Jarrett Stidham this weekend. The next, yes, for the Seahawks, who would have thought that Mike Macdonald would have as much success as he's had in his early stint in Seattle. And then you look at Drake May and what he's been able to do. No one expected him to be an MVP quarterback. These are seasons to build on for those teams. Yes, you could probably say that the Rams had a good shot at getting somewhere because they have the experience, but I don't even know if most people had the Rams slotted in as the team to get this far, even as the playoffs started. I know they played the Panthers, but they were still a 6th seed.
Seattle has a great chance to win this thing. If they beat the Rams and they win the Super Bowl, Drew Lock will become the third Mizzou quarterback after Chase Daniel and Blaine Gabbert with a Super Bowl ring in the last 25 years. How's that sound?
It's because we produce Super Bowl winners
it's quarterback
here in the state of Missouri.
Quarterback you. All right, back to college football. Even though the transfer portal entry deadline has closed with a few exceptions because players that played in the championship game still have a couple more days, the real chaos is just beginning. The portal is still flooded with players scrambling for roster spots. 4,000 players went into the transfer portal, many of them learning the hard way that the job they left behind had already been filled. And for a lot of the players, it's not just bad luck, it's bad advice. A lot of players pushed into the portal by so-called agents with no real market knowledge, sold on the idea that leaving was a risk-free business decision and that their current school's offer was disrespectful. Well, when a player enters the portal on bad advice and then can't find a landing spot, loses not only his spot on a football team, but loses his scholarship, who should be held accountable? The system, the schools, the player, or the people giving that advice? I think it starts with the parents. I think parents have to know, and they have to study when they have a kid that's an athlete, that about 60% of the players that wind up going into the portal get a new job, get a new scholarship.
I think you have to look at the full picture of this whole thing and say everyone is accountable here. The system, the NCAA needs to solve this. And, you know, we were talking a lot about players getting more or losing control if they were to, you know, go to a CBA. Well, now they might want to and just find ways to have the NCAA stand for them because now contracts are being enforced. Players don't have all the control anymore. And then, yes, these agents. You have to figure out who's an agent and who's not an agent. And that goes back on the parents. That also goes back on the school to educate these players.
But the one person that I don't think, at least when they're in their first couple of years, freshman and sophomore in college, I don't think we should blame the player because they're told how great they are from the time they're a little kid up until they go to college. They get a scholarship. What are coaches telling them to get them to come to that school? You're great. You're going to play for us. They still think they're great when they're 19 or 20 years old, and nobody has told them they're not. So they're going into the portal thinking, okay, I'm going to get more money because I'm really good. But they aren't as good as they think they are. So I'm not blaming the kids. I'm not blaming a 20-year-old who's been told all his life how good he is, thinking that he's better than he really is.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But if you're going to the portal, you're probably not as good as you think you are because you would stay at your spot if you were a starter and having success at that school. Or you would get that next job if you're in a smaller school to go to Power 4. If you go to the portal, you're probably taking a step back versus a step forward.
Every single high school coach will tell you that the majority of parents think their players are better than they really are. And then you get to college and they're told the same thing. It's not the player's fault in my mind.
Randy, my kid's better than yours.
Yeah, there you go. Those are your quick hits here in the fight. And later in the show, you can participate in some risky business with us. We're going to build a parlay. We're going to do some NHL later in this show here on Matrix Midwest. But coming up, Battlehawks coach Ricky Prohl joins us here in the fight. It is The Fight with Carricker and Company. Andrew Rogers, Randy Carricker, and the new coach of your St. Louis Battlehawks is former St. Louis Rams and great NFL wide receiver Ricky Prohl, who's kind enough to join us from California here on The Fight. Coach, it's always good to talk to you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just out here in, actually, it's not sunny California today, but it's, I got some guys I'm training here for another week before I get back home and start packing up for the new season. I'm very excited. And
you had the chance to draft players. You got your players. How did that process compare to what you expected when you were going into it?
It went a lot smoother. My offensive coordinator, A.J. Smith, and Corey Chamberlain, my defensive coordinator, did a great job. We're very organized. It went as smooth as it could go, and I was very pleased with the players that we got. It's just, you don't know what to expect first time with this draft, but it went really well.
Ricky, the fan in me, wants to know if you can give us a peek behind the curtain of the draft. I'm looking for like intricacies. Like, does it mirror what we see at the NFL draft in ways? How fast are people selected? Do you actually call all of these guys? Things like that.
It's a lot faster. 90 seconds to make a pick. So you know who you want. You look on the board, the guys that we wanted to select, and you prepare. You have a backup. You have a number 2, a number 3, that if the guy you really want gets selected, okay, we're going to go. This is our next alternative pick. But for the most part, that didn't happen. Our first guy was there. We took him, and we were happy with our selections.
Ricky, you've coached with the Battlehawks before as the receivers coach. What's your favorite part about coaching in spring football?
These guys are just hungry. They just want to play football. Some just want to play ball. Some want to get filmed to get to the next level, get back to the National Football League. And to me, that's what brings so much joy, is just that these guys are hungry. They want to listen and learn to everything you're teaching. And that was the key to my staff. Is the hiring of my staff that was important to me. Is I wanted guys that are great teachers, great mentors, that wanted to develop these young men into not just great football players, but good people. But I think the biggest reward for me was all my guys 2 years ago got an opportunity to get into an NFL training camp, and that's a dream come true for those guys, and it's also a dream come true for us. We coach to help these young men, and that's what this league is all about. It's going to be exciting. There's a lot of new things that are getting ready to unravel and happen. And, we're all excited. All the coaches, the new cities, we're all really excited to showcase what the kind of product we're going to put on the field.
Hey, Ricky, one of the things that you guys did well here in St. Louis as a team, as a group of receivers, was block. I saw your group when you were here in St. Louis as a receivers coach. They all blocked. And you were a receivers coach in the NFL, in the Super Bowl. How much of an edge does it give a receiver to be a willing blocker, to do more than just be a diva and want to catch passes?
Gives us a huge advantage. That's what, you go back to your roots and the teachers that I had, the great coach, Al Saunders, who I'll never forget it. We all laugh, Isaac and Tori and Oz, we all laugh. I remember Al coming in and, us, whether it was a run play and kind of you run across the field, you kind of jogging, looking for someone to block, but you're not really trying to block. I mean, Al would chase us down the field, hunt somebody up, block somebody downfield, get upfield. And we'd like, what? Who is this guy? And it made such an impression on all of us because his whole philosophy was, let's take Marshall 10-yard runs into 30-yard explosive runs, 40-yard touchdowns. And we started to see that happen by getting downfield, blocking safeties, blocking corners, chasing the football, and then watching Marshall with these long touchdowns and Amp Lee and all those things, all the guys. And it became contagious to when Torrey caught the ball, go chase the ball, go follow him, go look for someone to block. And it just, when you make that block that takes Marshall into the end zone or Torrey or Isaac, it's a rewarding feeling. And we all took great pride in that, and it was contagious, and it made us a better football team. And that's the things, the little things that make a difference in winning and losing, especially when you get to those really tight ball games that impact winning and losing. And that's what I'm excited, because those are the things that I experienced as a player and now as a coach that we will instill in our players.
Coach, you take over for Anthony Becht, who had a lot of success here in the Lou. What did you learn watching what he built, and how do you plan to elevate this team from contender to champion?
It's a great question. I think, first of all, Coach Becht was just, we've remained great friends. We talk. He's helped me through this process, has been there for me and says, hey, if there's anything you need, any help you need, don't hesitate to call. He's awesome. I just think that it's a fine line. I'm watching here. I'm experienced two good friends of mine go through a lot right now, and Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. Had so much success 9 years with the Buffalo Bills, and now they're coming under controversy. They fired Sean. And it is. They're looking to, Sean's got him to a point of consistency, of championship football, but it's getting over that hump. And it's the things that I just spoke of. It's the little things. It's players buying into 11 guys on defense, sprinting to the football on every play, and if you're tired, get out. We'll get someone who's fresh in there. And that's what's going to be my message to our football team. It's receivers blocking downfield. It's everybody going that extra yard to do what it takes to be a championship football team. And it's hard. It's making those plays. The Brandon Cooks holding on the ball, squeezing the ball. It's those little things that get you over the top. And that's preparation. That's doing it every day in practice to where it becomes unconscious confidence, I call, on game day. You just react and you make those plays because you've done it day in and day out.
Okay, you opened the door, so I'm going to ask the question here. Brandon Cooks, was that a catch or was that the correct call?
It was the correct call. I hate to say it. I love Brandon. He's a hell of a football player. But you have to, maintain possession. When you go up and you have possession and you go down, you have to maintain possession as you go down and roll to the ground. That's always been the rule. If he wasn't contested and he went down, he caught it and got 2 feet and rolled over and the ball fell out, it'd be an incomplete pass. I mean, that's just the rule that they put in years ago, and it's in the sideline, it's in the end zone, and no matter where you are on the football field. But even if it wasn't contested, if there wasn't a defensive back there, if the ball came out, because he didn't make a football move, he caught it, got 2 feet down, rolled over, but you have to maintain possession throughout. that play.
Okay, if a receiver is telling me that, as accomplished as you, I'm totally on board with what the officials did then.
Well, it's happened to me. That's why I'm speaking from experience.
And I'm not even going to ask you about Devontae Adams as a Bears fan, because I don't want to know if that was the right call or not. So I'm just going to move right past that and ask you about this city as a fan base, because as you know, as a former player, you know the difference that St. Louis, this St. Louis crowd can make, and what St. Louis fans, what makes St. Louis fans different from, other teams that you played on. Can you speak to just the volume level and the support that you can get from St. Louis versus a different city here in the U.S.?
Well, I think I'm gonna sound like I'm going to repeat myself, sound like a video recorder, because I'm going to say it. St. Louis is some of the best sports fans in our country, and it's because they're knowledgeable fans. They know when to clap, when to boo, when to cheer, and it's not when we have the football. It's when we're on defense. But they're just, I look at from my kids growing up 5 years in St. Louis, spending some time there and going to baseball games and hockey games, and they're just knowledgeable fans, and they added such an advantage for us in that dome. We talked about it as a team and how loud it got. It was piercing. I can't even imagine a quarterback in a huddle trying to call plays, trying to call at the line of scrimmage. It just gave us a huge advantage, and that's something that I really look forward. It's the energy that the St. Louis fans creates in that dome, and it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm glad I get to be a part of it as a head coach.
Hey, Ricky, when you and I talked on the day you were announced as the Battlehawks coach, you'd gotten a few texts from Dick Vermeil, and as a media person, I learned a lot from Coach. Is there a phrase or two that Coach said to you that you use either with your players or with your sons that you've used over the years?
There's so many. I mean, from, I'll never forget Coach and probably our whole team. Why not the Rams? When Trent went down, why not the Rams? Why can't we win it? Why can't we be a championship football team? But I think it's just his belief in us. Frank Gans's, I'll be using Frank Gansisms. He had so many of them.
Two-step redirect.
Two-step redirect, 6 things, rising blow. I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking the problem. Problem is you're not getting your job done right now. But, I think most of all, it's players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And there's so much truth at all levels. We all need that pat on the back sometimes. And we have to be disciplined. We have to be consistent as players, as a football team. But they need to know that we care about them as people, and that we're here to encourage them. It doesn't do you any good when I drop the pass and I come to the sideline and they catch the effing ball. Really? I thought I was trying to drop it, it's what do you teach? What do you teach? I think Vermeil, when he said it best, Matsko, we were struggling with some of our linemen, and he said, man, some of these guys can't block. And he says, well, if they were all Pro Bowlers, we wouldn't need you as a line coach. And that's what we are as coaches. It's our job to teach and mentor these young men, to give them the confidence that they carry on to the field and be successful to where we can, again, be a winning football team, a championship football team.
Ricky, when did it really hit you that you were ready for this opportunity to be the head coach of the Battlehawks?
I think just being a receiver coach in the National Football League, playing as long as I did and mentoring young guys, and then owning my own business. I mean, in a sense, owning your business, you're a head coach. I mean, you've got to manage people. You've got to bring in people that are smarter than you, and put them in a position to where they can be successful. And then ultimately we all become successful. And I think that's the name of the game here as coaches, is we got to put these guys, we got to understand their skill set and put these guys in a position for success. And ultimately, that's how we become successful.
Hey, Ricky, before we let you go, January 23rd, 2000 is seared into my brain. Here we are, the 26th anniversary of that date. When that date pops up, do you think about it? Do you think about what happened on that date in 2000?
All the time. My dad, bless his heart, before he passed, and used to remind me, it's just something that you know how much it meant to me as a player, to us as a team, to be a part of that, to play a part in that, especially me at that moment. I joke, I tell guys it's part of my story of just not having a touchdown all year and being part of the greatest show on turf and just pray to God, like just give me one, just one touchdown. And couldn't happen at a more pivotal moment. So yeah, it's something that I cherish, and it's something I'll never forget, being in that locker room after the game, getting ready and prepare for the Super Bowl, or the ultimate dream.
And in this town, a good sports town, that'll be the only Super Bowl championship St. Louis ever wins. So we're going to win a UFL championship, but that'll be the only Super Bowl championship St. Louis ever wins. And the reason we got there is because of your catch.
Well, there's a lot of other reasons, but I'm glad that I played a part in it. This game's the ultimate team sport, and you know that, Randy, and we had some great players. Dre Bly doesn't intercept that pass before I make the play. Maybe I don't make that play, and it's what Isaac Bruce says in his Hall of Fame speech. I mean, that's what made us and that football team so special, and it's building that culture in that locker room, out on the practice field, and hopefully I can replicate that in a little bit of what we did in '99, of just the kind of locker room we had and the people we had on that team. And that's a tribute to Dick Vermeil, that front office, and that coaching staff. Well,
we're going to be out to support Ricky Proehl and the Battlehawks. Tickets available at the Battlehawks website. You can get season tickets now. And Ricky, can't wait to see you here in town. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. And have a great day, and get those guys going to the NFL that you're working with.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all having me. We'll see you soon.
You bet,
Ricky.
Thanks, Ricky. That's a great Ricky Proehl joining us here in The Fight. And coming up, our list, because of Ricky Proehl, the coolest catches in championship games that we've ever seen. That's next in The Fight. Well, Friday is the 26th anniversary of Ricky Proehl's catch that took the Rams to the Super Bowl. It's conference championship weekend this year, and because of that, we give you the list of the best and coolest catches from championship weekend. And a little bit ago, we talked about John Elway and the drive, and this catch by Mark Jackson is somewhat overlooked because Elway gets all the credit. 15th play of a 98-yard drive. Earlier in the drive, Jackson had caught a 20-yard pass on 3rd and 18 to essentially keep it alive. But with 37 seconds left, how about that? Elway with a bullet to Jackson, a 5-yard touchdown to tie the score. And then the Broncos marched to the winning field goal against a gassed Browns defense in overtime. Elway to Jackson completing the drive is my number 3. There's Dan Reeves. He was the coach of the Broncos. Then obviously John Elway conducted it, but that guy right there, Mark Jackson, caught the pass, and that was not an easy catch to pass. Watch how hard Elway throws this ball when Jackson makes the catch. This is a rocket.
I love the 7-step drop, too. Mm-hmm. Like, he went back until he knew he was going to throw it forward. And so that's what I saw out of Elway there, and that was a bullet. I would love to see the clock on that. Did somebody radar that pass for me and let me know if it went, I don't know, 94 into that chest of Mark Jackson?
Well, they used to have to wear compression shirts because he threw the ball so hard in practice that the players would come into the locker room and they'd have a little cross on their chest because he threw it so hard.
Practice how you play?
Yep.
All right, my number 3. The 2013 NFC Championship game was something else. Some might even call it immaculate. You've got division rivals in the loudest building in football going absolutely nuclear. It's Seattle. It's January. And the 49ers are right there. Ball on the 18, down 6, 30 seconds left. Everyone in the stadium knows where it's going. Kaepernick rolls right, locks in on Crabtree, but for a split second, it looked like San Francisco might rip Seattle's heart out. It was Richard Sherman that came flying in. He timed it perfectly and just got his fingertips on it to knock it away, but pop it straight into the hands of Malcolm Smith, who was just waiting there and had the easiest interception of his life. Game over, season over. That one tip didn't just end a rivalry game. It launched the Seahawks into a Super Bowl run and etched itself as one of the plays that lives forever in NFL history. But before I let you respond, Randy, we have to hear from Richard Sherman first.
Let me ask you the final play. Take me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Who was talking about you.
Crabtree, don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm going to set it for you real quick. LOB.
All right, and Joe, back over to you.
Sorry, Aaron, no more questions.
Yeah, and I think that was all scripted for Richard Sherman. If something like that happened, he's a really bright guy. He's Stanford
Very
educated,
smart.
has his degree, and he was a great player too. And LOB, yeah, that was great. That was one of the magical plays in NFL history.
Yeah, it was not a touchdown catch, but it was a game-winning catch. And to your point about him being a very smart and intellectual person, there's a lot of people out there in the heat of the moment with all those emotions that might have said a few choice words on the broadcast. He instead said, "Sorry, receiver," like Crabtree, which I still think is one of the funniest lines.
All right, my number 2, and we have to have this one, don't we? The catch. The 1981 season, Joe Montana's first full year as a starter, and the 49ers are down in the fourth quarter. 3rd and 3 from the 6, and Montana, was he trying to throw it away? The 49ers say that it was planned. Dwight Clark, after 3 players in his face, Montana throws it, and Clark makes the catch. That put San Francisco ahead 28-27, and they hang on to win by that score. And that started the 49ers dynasty and ended the 70s and 80s Cowboys dynasty, or the 60s and 70s Cowboys dynasty. Couple of notes. Montana and Too Tall Jones had a brief conversation after the play. And Too Tall said, "You just beat America's team." And Joe responded by stating, "Well, you can sit at home with the rest of America and watch the Super Bowl." It was awesome. And one of the incredible plays in football history, and iconic, and really the play that put Joe Montana on the map.
I was going to say, if you look up any highlight video of Joe Montana, if you watch any documentary today, the first highlight you see is that one. And that is the one that put Joe Montana on the map. And as I look at how he rolled out there, as I looked at the throw he had to make through 3 big bodies to find that touchdown and make it happen, you know, I know I'm a Bears fan, but I see a lot of that in Caleb Williams, who just knows how to scramble and knows how to make the play, even when it feels like the play is over.
By the way, you talk about having everything in a game, and that game, 28-27, did have everything. The television call was Vin Scully and Hank Stram. The radio call was Jack Buck and Pat Summerall. So pretty cool.
Talk about greats in the broadcast booth.
And just watch Dwight Clark go up. You got 3 Cowboys in front of Montana right there, and then watch how, and everybody said it was the highest that Dwight Clark ever jumped in his life. Came out of nowhere. There it is. Touchdown.
Wow.
The catch.
Wow. And it really doesn't look like he got that high off the ground until you see it in slow motion.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 2. I'm going all the way back to 2008 for this one. I know, all the way back. It's the AFC Championship game. It's the Ravens and the Steelers, and it's 16-14 with about 6 to play in the fourth quarter. And all momentum favoring Baltimore? Or is it? Ravens trying to steal the game. Joe Flacco on 3rd down. Drops back. He thinks he's got something working. But poof! Troy Polamalu appears. He jumps the route, snatches the ball, and in one motion flips the entire game on its head. Then comes the chaos. The wild angle change, sideline to sideline sprint, the hair flying, head and shoulders, Randy, the best thing that happened that night. Touchdown, no hesitation, no wasted steps, just pure instinct and football IQ, which I think that's what made him so good for so many years. It's that football IQ of being in the right place at the right time.
And that got our buddy Kerry Davis into the Super Bowl and got him a Super Bowl ring. And Kerry said Troy Polamalu, when he would come in for practice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he'd have his hair up. You'd never know that he had long hair, and he was really quiet. He'd say, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, very quiet, soft-spoken, but then turned into just an absolute animal on Sundays. And you see it with the hair flying. He said he was a different person on Sundays, but an easy Hall of Famer. Oh, by the way, one Troy Polamalu note, in the 2003 draft, I'm sorry, when the St. Louis Rams took Jimmy Kennedy, Troy Polamalu was on the board, and it was the Rams' philosophy that you didn't pay that much for a safety. So they passed up Polamalu and took Jimmy Kennedy instead, a defensive tackle.
Well, the Rams have made a lot of great decisions in the NFL draft over the years.
Yeah. All right, my number 1, and in St. Louis, this will always be number 1. 1999 NFC Championship game. Buccaneers leading the Rams 6-5, and Dre Bly, as Ricky Prohl mentioned earlier in the show, comes up with an interception with 8:01 to go, and with less than 5 minutes left, Kurt Warner found a guy that hadn't caught one of his 41 touchdown passes that year. How about this?
Somewhere between now
Let's listen to John Madden.
Someone's going to make a play and put their team in the Super Bowl.
Warner going deep. Touchdown, touchdown. Ricky Prohl in the corner.
Listen to that crowd. Holy smokes. And the Rams would win it 11-6 because of Ricky's catch. And the greatest show on turf would win their only Super Bowl. And that was just one of the most amazing plays. And like DeMarco Farr said in the America's Game documentary, he sees Torrey, he sees Isaac, the ball is up, he thinks Kurt's throwing it away. And then as DeMarco says, Prohl? Prohl? What a catch. What a game, and what a season for the St. Louis Rams.
Ricky Prohl. I mean, gosh, it's so great to have him back in St. Louis. I remember seeing a clip, too, of him saying, because you mentioned just the sheer volume of the crowd. He said how he couldn't hear anything after that touch. It's like he blacked out mentally, and he ran to the sidelines, and he's like, why can't I hear anything? And it wasn't until he got to the sidelines, and he was standing there for about 30 seconds before his eardrum started picking up the volume again, and he's like, oh, these guys are still screaming and cheering.
It was wild. It was such a great day.
All right, my number one. Let's officially send a team to the Super Bowl. And let's do it on offense. The 2014 NFC Championship, you just spent 2 quarters watching the Seahawks self-destruct. Down 16, needing a fake field goal thrown by their punter just to remind everyone they're alive, and somehow that opens the door. Fast forward to overtime, Seattle wins the toss, the crowd is shaking the place, and Russell Wilson is still out there throwing 4 interceptions, all of them intended for Jermaine Kearse. This one, though, completed to Jermaine in the moment. He makes the play to send his team to the Super Bowl. The redemption in real time, that's why that catch is so unforgettable too, is because of how everything kind of came to that moment. It was one of the most improbable comebacks you'll ever see. But you know what the Seahawks should have done in the next stages of that Super Bowl run? Maybe run it with Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line.
Wouldn't have been a bad idea. So those are our catches. We also remember Scotty Miller from Tom Brady for Tampa in 2020 before the half. That kind of ended things for the Packers that day and won it for the Bucs in 1995. Neil O'Donnell to Ernie Mills to set up the Bam Morris game-winning run. And, of course, you just can't forget all of the great Steelers moments that happened over the course of the years. Those are our favorite catches from NFC and AFC championship games in history. It was the Ricky Prohl catch. I'll never get tired of it.
Yeah, that's still the best one, by far.
All right, we went a little crazy with our last parlay. We would have won 75 grand if we would have won. Well, we'll calm down with our next one coming up in the fight. All right, it's time for us to build a parlay. We did not do well on yesterday's parlay.
No, we did not.
Because I picked a 92-84 Billiken victory over Duquesne, and it didn't work out. So,
and that's okay.
Yeah, but today, a little bit more conservative. Now, I've seen Nashville play against the Blues. I don't know if Nashville was that good or the Blues were that bad. I'm going to think that Nashville was that good. They're playing the Ottawa Senators at home, and I'm just going to go simple. They're minus 108. Nashville on the money line.
Good start.
That's my call.
And a safe start. And I'm going to go one step below. Florida Panthers at the Winnipeg Jets, also a team that just beat the Blues by 2 goals, which is no surprise to anybody at this point. But I still don't believe in the Jets. I don't think the Jets are a very good hockey team. Give me the Panthers on the road as a slight favorite at minus 120.
This is a lot more conservative than the $75,000 win we would have
we're not
had.
going to say, the final score of the Jets game is going to be 5-4.
Yeah, no. Payout is $353.08, though, if we win that one. How about that? That's
Nothing
pretty
wrong.
good.
Nothing wrong with an easy $350.
Not at all. All right, that is our parlay, and that's risky business here in the fight. Coming up, we're going to bring you Take It or Leave It. We're going to bring you Story Time with Uncle Randy, and we're going to have Today in Sports History. That's coming your way here in the fight. All right, time for Take It or Leave It, and former Cardinal Carlos Beltran, congratulations to him with his 70 career WAR. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame this week, and Andrew Jones with 62.7 career WAR elected to the Hall of Fame. 2 great center fielders in baseball history, 2 clear Hall of Famers. But Andrew, take it or leave it, Jim Edmonds, who had a 60.4 career WAR and much more postseason impact than those two, should be another center fielder in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Randy, I'm going to circle my check mark for this one. I'm going to emphasize the fact that Jim Edmonds should be in the Hall of Fame. I love the fact that Andrew Jones got in because for a long time, I think people weren't taking his bat seriously.
Right.
And I thought, okay.
434 homers?
Right, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's the reason he won't get in. If you're now going to let Andrew Jones in because of his defensive ability too, Jim Edmonds is right.
Yeah,
He's
I
next.
don't think there's any doubt
Right
about it. And I can't believe that he didn't get 5% on his first opportunity on the ballot. Hopefully, he'll be installed by one of the era's committees. And Carlos and Joe Buck going in together. How about that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm actually really excited for Carlos Beltran because what he did for us in St. Louis was incredible. Almost led us to a World Series.
Yeah, he was great.
He did lead us to a World Series. Almost led us to a win.
Yeah.
Okay, mine for you is this. Ivan Herrera is the only Cardinal in the MLB Network Top 100. He ranks at 97th. Take it or leave it, Randy. He's the best player on the team today, even with Brendan Donovan still on it.
I'm going to have to leave it simply because Brendan Donovan is solid offensively, right? A Silver Slugger finalist. He's won a Gold Glove. So Donovan can play the whole game. There's no doubt that Ivan Herrera is the Cardinals' best hitter, but is he their best player? I can't say that yet.
I'm going to leave it as well. I'm actually shocked Brendan Donovan couldn't be found on that list based on his impact just off of last season, making the All-Star game. Could have been the starter if it weren't for Ketel Marte's bat.
Yeah, he's something. And I'm surprised that we haven't seen a deal. Somebody overwhelmed the Cardinals for his services yet because he's just one of those guys. He's a winning player.
I think it is just a time will tell situation. Yeah. Somebody at some point is going to say, okay, we need him now.
I do think, by the way, and I think we talked about this on opening day, I think Brendan Donovan is on the Cardinals, and I think he's their opening day left fielder.
Yeah, I think that is a take it or leave it that I would leave at this point, just based on how quickly Bloom's been able to make deals.
Yeah, but now the other team has to make the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
They got to call him.
100%.
Right. Now it's time for our story time with Uncle Randy, and we're going to spin a wheel. We're going to get a decade. We're going to get a sport. And I'll see if I can remember a story for you guys.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Okay, here is the decade. We're going to the 70s.
Young Randy.
Okay, young Randy's, and let's see what we have here.
What were you doing in the 70s?
I was going to school. I was being a kid. Okay, 1970s.
This is easy for you. 1970s baseball?
So, 1970s, the Cardinals had a pitcher named Scipio Spinks. And in 1974, I went to a game between the Cardinals and the Cubs. And Scipio Spinks was the starter for the Cardinals. And I liked Scipio Spinks because he had a cool name.
Yep, that's it.
Scipio Spinks. And he had a stuffed gorilla. And it was named Mighty Joe Young, and he took it on the road with him. It was kind of like a good luck charm for the Cardinals. It didn't provide enough good luck, obviously, but this guy was a character, and so he had Mighty Joe Young. Actually, I think he might have gotten traded to Houston, but he bequeathed Mighty Joe Young to Bernie Carbo, who got traded to Boston, and Mighty Joe Young became a key figure in the Red Sox 1975 World Championship, or at least American League Championship, against the Reds. The Reds beat them in the World Series, but Mighty Joe Young was a star. But my guy was, not my guy, but I just liked him, and I remember watching him pitch against the Cubbies. Scipio Spinks, and that story time. I remember being right behind home plate. We were in the second level and watching him pitch, and he was pretty darn good.
Yeah, you either chose, as a kid, the best player on the team or the player with the best name.
Cool name. Yeah.
And I think that even St. Louis today has good names. Michael McGreevy is a good, McGreevy is a great last name. Richard Fitz is a good name. A lot of fans are going to like Richard Fitz this year.
I heard that like one of the best days of Chip Cary's life was when the Cardinals traded for Dick Fitz.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh, look what we got here. We got Scipio Spinks.
Don't fit, you must have quit.
Yeah, how about that? Oh, Tyler, you're unbelievable. So, yeah, he was pretty good. I thought he was going to be better than he was. The Cardinals in the 70s, one of their big issues was pitching. After they traded Steve Carlton and Bob Gibson got older, they brought up Bob Force. They had a young pitcher named John Denny. They had Scipio Spinks, but they never really had that one guy to lead their rotation. Pete Falcone was pretty good. They had some guys, they traded for Falcone, a lefty, because they needed a lefty, but they just never had the guy to lead the staff. And then Al Hrabosky was the closer, but he never had any help in the bullpen. The bullpen was never really great either.
But Al Hrabosky was awesome.
Yeah. So that's story time from,
Say his name again?
Randy. Scipio Spinks?
Scipio Spinks.
Yeah.
Not Sphinx, but Spinks.
Spinks.
Okay.
All right, time for this date in sports history. Did you know that St. Louis used to have an NBA team?
I did, the Hawks.
The Hawks, and in 1958, with 28 points and 26 rebounds, Hawks forward Bob Pettit became the first member of a losing team to win the NBA All-Star MVP award. He did it right here in St. Louis. The game was played here in St. Louis, and obviously this was on the heels of the Hawks winning the NBA championship. They go to the finals this year. Bob Pettit, one of the more underrated players of all time, one of the top 100 players in the history of the sport. He was unbelievable, and he would be one of the all-time, and he is one of the all-time great St. Louis athletes. The problem is that a lot of people don't realize that with the Hawks here, he was as good as he was. And by the way, kudos to the Atlanta Hawks. If you ever go to an Atlanta Hawks game in Atlanta, they honor that championship with a St. Louis Hawks banner.
So cool.
It's not just a Hawks banner, it's a St. Louis Hawks banner that they have to memorialize.
So the St. Louis Hawks, who was the guy they drafted out of San Francisco? One of the best players to ever play the game.
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. Oh, yeah, that's right. That guy. And then who did they trade him to?
They traded him to the Celtics. They got Easy Ed McCauley back.
Yeah, and that was worth it, right?
Yeah.
that trade worked.
That was not great, yeah. And they were here, and then the Blues, and there's Mighty Joe Young right there with Scipio Spinks. How about that? And then the Blues drew so many people, the Hawks left town and went to Atlanta. So how about that? I wish the Cardinals would have something like that this year. So many teams have like a good luck charm, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a jacket like the Blue Jays have.
Joe Boo.
Yeah, something like that. So I wish a Cardinal would come up with something like Mighty.
I know that's been done before. There's plenty of superstitious things in baseball that they've attached to in order to get somewhere.
And I don't know if you realize how difficult this is, but what our director, Tyler Klaus, does on a daily basis is truly amazing. Hey, we're always available on the KMOV app and the new Matrix Midwest app. You need to download the Matrix Midwest app, plus on your favorite podcast platform. And you can go to matrixmidwest.com to sign up for The Fight with Carricker and Company. Just go to our drop-down and we'll get it to you. For Andrew and Tyler, we still got a little bit of time, and we want you to know that we've got so many ways for you to consume our program. And one of the things that I hear a lot of people do, you should take advantage of this, put it on either the KMOV app or the Matrix Midwest app, and you can listen to us, just Bluetooth us like we're a radio show on TV.
Well, and we were at the Lindenwood event on Friday. Greg Amsinger, Chaim Bloom, Ali Marmol. I had two different fans of our show come up to me and say, hey, I still watch you guys every day. Still go to Matrix Midwest and watch you every day. Matrix Midwest is starting to become the best place to consume sports here in St. Louis.
No doubt about it. And we are on every day at 5 o'clock p.m., 10 o'clock p.m., and then again at 7 a.m. So we hope that you'll be with us every day, and if not, find a way to consume Matrix Midwest. For Andrew and Tyler, I'm Randy. Thanks so much for being with us, and thanks to Ricky Prohl. Go Battlehawks, and we'll see you next time here in The Fight.